Welcome to The Explainer. Today, actually, let's just skip the usual agenda and jump right into one of the absolute most fascinating divides in tech right now. We're going to bridge that massive, massive gap between the multi-billion-dollar AI deals happening up in corporate boardrooms and the actual everyday reality of how this stuff is being used right at our desks. Okay, let's dive straight in. $1 trillion. Let that sink in for a second. According to data from Goldman Sachs, that is the estimated capital expenditure we're looking at to build out global AI infrastructure. I mean, to put that into perspective, Sam Altman's Stargate project alone is looking to drop $500 billion just to build AI infrastructure in the US. The sheer scale of the money flowing into foundational models, specialized GPU chips, and massive data centers right now it's literally staggering. But, this astronomical price tag naturally leads us to a pretty huge looming question. Is the AI boom actually paying off? Like, are these incredible macroeconomic costs actually translating into real-world returns and productivity? That's the core tension we're unpacking today. We're going to look at who is really controlling all this money, what the top economists are predicting, and most importantly, what the real-world data actually tells us about how everyday workers are using AI right now.
All right, Section 1, Big Tech's Power Play, Controlling the AI Landscape.
So right now, this trillion-dollar infrastructure isn't really being built by scrappy startups. It's being orchestrated by the massive players who are engaging in what analysts at Greyhound Research call platform pragmatism. Take Microsoft and OpenAI, for instance. Recent reports say they've been renegotiating their multi-billion-dollar partnership. But interestingly, instead of Microsoft trying to own more of OpenAI, they're reportedly willing to reduce their equity. Why? Well, because they're prioritizing long-term technical access, co-engineering rights, and getting that deep integration into their Azure platform. It's kind of no longer about outright ownership, right? It's about making absolutely sure your platform is the one actually enabling the AI revolution.
And this quote brilliantly illustrates the whole strategy. Senchit Gogia, the chief analyst over at Greyhound Research, notes that this move signals a shift from financial patronage to platform pragmatism. For a giant like Microsoft, decoupling their control from their capital is just a really smart move. It mitigates those massive regulatory risks of looking like a monopoly, and it basically insulates them from the chaotic startup politics of their partners. It's a maturity move for sure, favoring pure utility and ecosystem orchestration over just, hoarding shares.
But big tech's control goes way beyond corporate infrastructure deals. It actually reaches deep into academic research, too. A recent analysis of almost 50,000 AI papers found that industry presence grew from under 2% to over 11% by 2020. And this research is highly, highly influential. We're talking 12% of industry-funded papers achieving top citation rates, compared to just 2% for the non-funded ones. But here is the really fascinating catch. This research is incredibly insular. Industry-funded papers predominantly cite other industry-funded papers, and they have a massive recency bias. So big tech isn't just paying for the servers. They are effectively steering the entire intellectual direction of AI itself. Moving on to Section 2, the trillion-dollar question, debating the economic ROI. Now, with all this infrastructure being built out, the financial world is heavily, heavily divided on the return on investment. A deep dive report from Goldman Sachs highlights a pretty stark clash of perspectives here. On one hand, you have the skeptics, like MIT's Darren Acemoglu and Goldman's Jim Covello. They argue that AI's ability to cost-effectively automate tasks is actually pretty limited right now, and that current generative AI models simply aren't designed to solve truly complex problems. On the flip side, the optimists, folks like Goldman's Joseph Briggs and Kush Rangan, argue that we're simply in the infrastructure phase. Just like the early days of the internet, building the foundation takes time, but they argue historical progression proves this technology will eventually lead to massive productivity gains and entirely new job categories we haven't even thought of yet. To really show you just how far apart these two sides are, let's look at the forecast for U.S. productivity growth over the next 10 years. Acemoglu estimates AI will impact such a small base of tasks that it's only going to boost productivity by a mere 0.5%. The optimists, they project a massive 9.0% surge in productivity. That is a total chasm of expectations hanging right over $1 trillion investment. Which kind of naturally brings us to a grounding, real-world question, doesn't it? To justify these boardroom billions and these wildly different economic forecasts, who is actually using this technology today? Let's step away from the macroeconomic theories for a second and look at the hard data. Section 3. Who actually uses AI? The workplace reality.
To answer our question, we're looking at a super interesting new study from Anthropic. They mapped millions of real, anonymized Claude conversations straight to the U.S. Department of Labor's database. And the data shows a very clear divide. High usage is heavily concentrated in computer-related and writing tasks. Software developers, technical writers, data scientists, they make up an enormous chunk of daily AI usage. Conversely, occupations that require physical manipulation of the environment or highly specialized human interaction, think construction workers or anesthesiologists, see incredibly minimal use. So, good news, right? AI isn't putting you under for surgery anytime soon.
Now, this divide becomes even more fascinating when we look at the barrier to entry, or what the Department of Labor calls job zones. AI usage doesn't just go straight up as jobs get more complex. It actually peaks right in the middle to high tier, specifically Job Zone 4, which represents roles requiring considerable preparation, usually a bachelor's degree. But look at the extremes here. Usage drops off significantly for both low-wage, low-prep jobs and the very highest wage, extensive prep jobs like specialized surgeons or top-tier lawyers. The AI sweet spot, at least right now, is very clearly the mid to high wage knowledge worker. So the absolutely crucial point here is that right now, AI has a broad reach, but very shallow depth. The Anthropic data reveals that about 36% of occupations use AI for at least a quarter of their associated tasks. That means AI has diffused across a huge portion of the workforce already. However, only a tiny 4% of occupations use AI for 75% or more of their tasks. What you should really take away from this is that AI is not currently replacing entire job roles, not even close. It's selectively handling specific tasks within those broader roles. Which brings us to Section 4, Automate or Augment, how humans collaborate with AI. So if people are only using AI for specific tasks, how exactly are they treating it? Are they using it as a total replacement, or is it more of a collaborative partner? Well, the interaction data reveals that a majority, 57%, of AI usage is augmentative. That means users are engaged in task iteration, learning, and validation. They're actively collaborating with the AI to enhance their own capabilities. The remaining 43% is pure automation, where users give a directive and the AI just handles it with minimal human involvement. This completely challenges the popular narrative that AI is solely an automation engine designed to replace us. For most people, it's actually acting more like an exoskeleton for their mind. Let me bring this to life with a few real-world examples. Automation, in practice, looks like a blunt directive. You just say, format this technical documentation in Markdown. The human delegates, the AI executes. Simple. But augmentation, that's a task iteration. The user says, let's draft a marketing strategy. The AI responds, and the human guides it, saying, okay, good start, now can we add some concrete metrics to this section? It's a true back-and-forth dialogue. And what's totally wild is that users are already specializing their AI partners based on these specific tasks. The data shows that users strongly prefer the Claude 3.5 Sonnet model for complex coding and software development tasks. But when it comes to creative writing, curriculum development, and education, they switch over to the Claude 3 Opus model. Think about that. We are already treating different AI models like specialized coworkers with totally different skill sets. Which ultimately leaves us here. The boardrooms are absolutely going to keep debating the trillion-dollar ROI, and the economists, well, they'll keep arguing over macro productivity percentages until they're blue in the face. But at the desk level, the data is crystal clear. AI is shifting from hype to daily habit. So the ultimate question I want to leave you with today is this. As these tools become deeply integrated into your specific daily tasks, is AI going to replace your job, or is it simply becoming your most capable new coworker? Really think about how you use it today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.